What if trying to do everything is exactly what's guaranteeing you achieve nothing? You are overworked, yet somehow you feel entirely underutilized, and when your head hits the pillow at night, you feel like you accomplished nothing of real value. Welcome to the exhausting illusion of modern productivity. We have been sold a massive lie. The lie that you can have it all, that you can do it all. But the harsh truth is, when you try to do everything, you end up achieving absolutely nothing of true significance. You are stretched a mile wide and an inch deep, completely unstoppable in your busyness, yet entirely paralyzed in your progress. Welcome to the Upgraded Mind. I am going to decode this book so deeply and perfectly that you will never need to read it or watch another summary ever again. Introduction: The Essentialist. In his brilliant book, Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less, Greg McKeown introduces a radical shift in how we approach our lives. Essentialism is not about getting more things done in less time. It is not a cheap time management hack or a trendy productivity app. It is a fundamental discipline, the relentless pursuit of less but better. It is about taking back absolute control of your choices before someone else dictates them for you. Imagine an archer pulling back a bow. If they aim at 5 targets at once, the arrow loses its power and misses them all. But if they ruthlessly eliminate 4 targets and focus entirely on one, the impact is massive. That is exactly what an essentialist does. They pause, they evaluate, and they aggressively cut away the trivial many so they can invest their absolute best energy into the vital few. Your challenge for this introduction is simple. I want you to look at your calendar for tomorrow. Find just one meeting, one task, or one obligation that you are dreading because it adds absolutely zero value to your ultimate goal. And I want you to mentally cross it out. Acknowledge the noise. Because as we move into the first part of this book, we are going to learn exactly how to eliminate that noise forever. We live in a world that constantly forces endless options upon us. But the uncomfortable truth is, most of us have completely forgotten that we actually have the power to choose at all. This leads us right into Chapter 2. Choose. The invincible power of choice. Think about how many times you said, I have to do this past week. I have to take on this extra project. I have to go to this networking event. I have to answer this email right now. When you say I have to, you are surrendering your absolute greatest power. You are handing the steering wheel of your life over to your boss, your friends, or the endless demands of society. You become a victim of learned helplessness, a psychological state where you falsely believe you have no control over your environment. So you just stop trying and accept whatever is thrown at you. But the massive, undeniable reality is this. Choice is not a thing you have. It is an action you take. It is a terrifyingly powerful muscle. When you realize that every single yes is a choice, and every single no is a choice, you become completely unstoppable. Let's look at a modern example. Imagine a professional who gets a Slack message at 9 p.m. from their manager asking for a quick file review. They tell themselves, I have to do this to be a team player. They stay up, ruin their sleep, and wake up exhausted, producing terrible, low-quality work the next day. A non-essentialist believes they have to do it. An essentialist pauses and says, I choose to prioritize my rest tonight so I can deliver flawless work tomorrow morning. They ruthlessly reclaim their agency. The power of choice cannot be taken away from you. It can only be forgotten. So here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. For the next 24 hours, I want you to completely ban the phrase, I have to, from your vocabulary. Every single time you catch yourself saying it, stop and replace it with, I choose to. Feel that massive psychological shift. Feel the raw weight of the responsibility. Because the exact moment you truly own your choices, you finally own your life. We have been conditioned to believe that everything is important. We look at our massive to-do lists and think that every single task holds equal weight, believing that checking off 10 small things is just as valuable as conquering one big thing. But this is a fatal trap, an absolute delusion that keeps you trapped in an endless hamster wheel of mediocrity. The brutal, unspoken reality of the universe is that almost everything is completely and utterly worthless. Which brings us directly to Chapter 3, Discern, the unimportance of practically everything. Greg McKeown explains that we must fundamentally shift our worldview from seeing equality in all things to recognizing extreme inequality in everything. You have probably heard of the Pareto principle, the famous 80-20 rule where 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. The Essentialist takes this to an even more extreme level. They understand that maybe just 1% of what we do yields 99% of the massive, life-altering results. Most emails, most casual meetings, most social media scrolling, it is all just noise. Imagine a modern content creator who spends 12 hours a day tweaking their channel banner, answering every single generic comment, and trying to post on 6 different platforms at once. They feel incredibly busy, yet they are burning out and failing. Why? Because they are entirely blind to the vital few. The one essential task was simply sitting down to write one deeply phenomenal, high-quality script that could go viral. They traded a massive, unstoppable breakthrough for the cheap illusion of being busy. When you finally realize that almost everything around you is just noise, you stop rushing, you stop panicking, and you develop a calm, ruthless eye for your highest point of leverage. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Look at your massive to-do list for today and ask yourself a very dangerous question. If you were only allowed to accomplish exactly one thing on that list before going to sleep and everything else had to be completely ignored, which one task would actually change your life? Find that one vital thing and let the trivial many burn away. We are constantly terrified of missing out. When faced with a difficult decision, the default human response is to ask, how can I possibly do both? We want the massive promotion at work, and we want to train for the marathon, and we want to build a viral side hustle all at the exact same time. But this desperate desire to have it all is exactly what destroys us. And this brings us to a harsh, uncomfortable reality in Chapter 4, Trade-off. Which problem do I want? A non-essentialist firmly believes they can cheat reality. They believe that with enough hustle, enough caffeine, and the perfect productivity app, they can completely bypass the laws of physics and just do everything. The essentialist knows this is a catastrophic lie. They understand that every single choice you make inherently requires you to sacrifice something else. It is physically and psychologically impossible to say yes to one thing without simultaneously saying no to another. If you say yes to an unnecessary late-night project, you are trading away your deep sleep and your morning energy. If you say yes to a cheap, scrolling distraction, you are directly trading away your future legacy. You cannot avoid trade-offs. You can only choose which ones you intentionally make. Imagine a modern software engineer who wants to launch a revolutionary new app while keeping their highly demanding corporate job. They try to work 10-hour corporate days, then code until 3 in the morning, while still trying to maintain a thriving weekend social life. Within a mere 3 months, their health completely collapses, their corporate work suffers, and their app is a broken, buggy mess. They tried to dodge the trade-off, and reality brutally punished them for it. An essentialist pauses, looks at the exact same situation, and asks a profoundly different question. Which problem do I actually want? They willingly embrace the pain of saying no to the social events, or they accept the reality of delaying the app launch. Because ultimate unstoppable power comes from choosing your sacrifice on purpose rather than letting it happen by accident. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Think of a major goal you are struggling to achieve right now. Instead of asking how you can magically fit it into your already chaotic life, I want you to ask yourself a very heavy question. What am I absolutely willing to give up to make this happen? Find the trade-off, embrace the sacrifice, and permanently take your power back. We live in an era of terrifying hyperconnectivity, where being completely unreachable is almost viewed as a crime. We are constantly plugged in, reacting to every vibration and ping, terrified that if we disconnect for even a moment, the world will leave us behind. But this brings us to a crucial practice in Chapter 5, Escape. The perks of being unavailable. The non-essentialist is terrified of silence. They fill every single gap in their day with podcasts, endless emails, and mindless scrolling, desperately believing that constantly consuming information makes them productive. But the essentialist knows a massive fundamental truth. Without dedicated, uninterrupted space to actually think, you are completely blind to what is truly important. You cannot possibly separate the vital few from the trivial many when your brain is constantly drowning in a sea of digital noise. Think about a modern knowledge worker who sits at their desk for 8 straight hours. Slack is pinging every 3 minutes, their inbox is always open, and their phone is aggressively lighting up with notifications. They are frantically reacting to everyone else's emergencies, absolutely convinced they are working hard. But they never actually produce anything of deep, lasting value. Now look at the Essentialist. They deliberately disappear. They go offline, turn their phone completely off, and lock the door. In that profound, silent escape, they gain the extreme clarity needed to solve massive problems in a fraction of the time. Space is not a luxury. It is an absolute survival requirement in a chaotic world. If you do not deliberately create space to think, the world will completely consume your mind. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Sometime today, I want you to completely vanish for just 20 minutes. Leave your phone in another room, close your laptop, grab a blank piece of paper, and just sit in absolute silence. Do not try to be productive. Just let your mind breathe. Reclaim your space, because your greatest, unstoppable breakthroughs are hiding in the exact silence you are currently too afraid to face. We spend our entire days drowning in an absolute ocean of information. We read every news headline, scroll through endless data points, and listen to 1,000 different opinions, entirely convinced that knowing more means understanding more. But there is a massive, catastrophic difference between just looking at data and actually seeing the truth, which brings us to the profound skill taught in Chapter 6. Look, see what really matters. A non-essentialist gets completely lost in the agonizing details. They react to the loudest voice in the room and desperately try to process every single piece of information thrown at them. But an essentialist operates entirely differently. They act like a master journalist in their own life. They do not just listen to the noise. They aggressively listen for what is not being said. They scan the massive, chaotic landscape of their life and search for the lead, the one core truth that actually explains everything else. Imagine a modern startup founder staring at a dashboard of 50 different metrics. They are frantically tweaking ad colors, changing button sizes, and obsessing over micro-analytics because sales are dropping. They are completely paralyzed by the trivial details. An essentialist takes a step back, looks at the entire picture, and realizes the massive, undeniable truth. The product itself just does not solve a real problem. They stop majoring in minor details and ruthlessly confront the core issue. When you stop obsessing over every tiny pixel, you suddenly gain the unstoppable ability to see the entire massive picture. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Think about a chaotic, overwhelming problem you are dealing with right now at work or in your personal life. I want you to stop looking at the 50 little details making you anxious. Take a mental step back and write down the one single sentence that actually describes the true root of the problem. Find the lead and stop letting the trivial details blind you from the massive truth. We have been deeply infected by a toxic hustle culture that completely brainwashes us into believing that every single second of our day must be monetized, optimized, or productive. We look at having fun as a childish waste of time, absolutely terrified that if we stop grinding for even a moment, we will lose our edge. But this brings us to one of the most misunderstood and powerful concepts in Chapter 7. Play. Embrace the wisdom of your inner child. A non-essentialist believes that play is a trivial distraction, a guilty pleasure that strictly belongs to weekends or vacations. But the essentialist understands a massive, scientifically proven reality. Play is not the enemy of work. It is the absolute, unstoppable engine of ultimate creativity. When you play, you completely rewire your brain. You lower your stress. You open up your executive function, and you unlock brilliant solutions that relentless grinding could never possibly see. Imagine a modern graphic designer who has been staring at a blank screen for 10 agonizing hours. They are drinking endless cups of coffee, forcing themselves to sit in a dark room, trying to completely brute force a creative breakthrough. They are exhausted, miserable, and their work is entirely lifeless. Now imagine an essentialist facing the exact same block. Instead of torturing themselves, they completely step away. They go build a Lego set, play a video game, or throw a ball with their dog without a single ounce of guilt. In that massive, joyous release of pressure, their subconscious connects the dots, and the million-dollar idea strikes them like absolute lightning. Play is a vital necessity for elite performance. If you permanently kill your ability to play, you completely destroy your highest cognitive potential. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Sometime this week, I want you to dedicate just 30 minutes to doing something completely, utterly, and entirely pointless. Do something strictly for the pure, unadulterated joy of it, with absolutely zero goal of making money or being productive. Reclaim your inner child. Embrace the play, and watch how your unstoppable creative genius comes rushing back. We wear our exhaustion like a twisted badge of absolute honor. We brag about surviving on 4 hours of sleep and an endless drip of caffeine, entirely convinced that pushing our bodies to the absolute breaking point makes us elite. But this is a massive biological delusion that is quietly destroying your ultimate potential. Which brings us to the profound reality of Chapter 8, Sleep. Protect the asset. A non-essentialist views sleep as a biological weakness, a necessary evil that steals precious hours away from the grind. They desperately believe that sleeping less automatically equals getting more done. But the essentialist understands a fundamental, undeniable truth. You are your own greatest asset, and sleep is the absolute, unstoppable armor that protects that asset. Destroy the armor and you completely destroy the machine. Imagine a modern tech entrepreneur who works 18-hour days, cutting their sleep down to 4 hours just to outwork the competition. They think they are pulling ahead, but their prefrontal cortex is literally shutting down. Their decision-making becomes highly compromised. They snap at their team and they make a massive, catastrophic strategic mistake because their brain is physically starved of critical recovery. Now look at the essentialist. They view 8 solid hours of sleep not as a lazy luxury, but as an aggressive, non-negotiable strategic advantage. While the exhausted entrepreneur is making sloppy errors, the deeply rested essentialist wakes up with massive cognitive clarity, solving complex problems in just 2 hours that would take a sleep-deprived person an entire week to butcher. Sleep is not the enemy of productivity. It is the ultimate, unrivaled multiplier of elite output. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Tonight, I want you to set a highly aggressive alarm, not for waking up, but for going to bed. Set a hard, unyielding boundary exactly 8 hours before you need to wake up. And when that alarm goes off, drop absolutely everything. Turn off the screens, close the laptop, and fiercely protect the asset, because a fully rested mind is the most terrifyingly unstoppable force in the world. We constantly settle for good enough. We clutter our lives with mediocre projects, lukewarm relationships, and average opportunities simply because we are utterly terrified of having an empty calendar. We convince ourselves that saying yes to something that is just okay is a safe bet, completely blind to the fact that every single okay you accept is a massive, impenetrable wall blocking your ultimate breakthrough. This brings us to the ruthless, life-altering discipline of Chapter 9. Select. The power of extreme criteria. A non-essentialist uses incredibly broad, weak criteria for their decisions. If an opportunity seems mildly interesting or slightly profitable, they grab it, completely flooding their life with an exhausting pile of mediocrity. But an essentialist applies the terrifyingly powerful 90% rule. They evaluate an opportunity on a scale of 0 to 100, and if the score is not perfectly 90 or above, they automatically change the score to 0 and confidently discard it. If it is not an absolute, unmistakable, table-pounding yes, it is an immediate, uncompromising no. Imagine a modern freelance creator who gets a brand deal. The money is barely acceptable, the brand is slightly unaligned with their values, and the timeline is highly stressful. A non-essentialist says yes completely out of scarcity, and for the next month, they are totally drained, producing absolute garbage, completely unavailable when their absolute dream client emails them a week later. They traded massive, unstoppable success for cheap, immediate scraps. An essentialist looks at that mediocre deal, scores it a 60, and ruthlessly walks away. keeping their absolute best energy perfectly preserved for the ultimate 90-plus opportunity. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. The next time you are faced with an invitation, a project, or a new commitment, I want you to rate it strictly from 0 to 100. If it does not aggressively hit a 90 or above, I want you to completely reject it. Stop settling for a life of good enough. Demand the absolute best, and let the mediocre noise burn to the ground. We waste an unbelievable amount of energy agonizing over tiny daily decisions because we completely lack a crystal-clear overriding purpose. We set vague, fuzzy goals like wanting to be more successful or get healthier, absolutely blind to the fact that vague goals are massive traps that guarantee total exhaustion. This brings us to the profound psychological shift in Chapter 10, Clarify. One decision that makes 1,000. A non-essentialist operates with a highly ambiguous sense of direction because their main objective is completely unclear. Every single email, every new meeting, and every random request becomes a brand new, terrifying negotiation in their brain. Here is a fascinating historical fact to consider. The word priority came into the English language in the 1400s, and for 500 years it remained singular, meaning the very first or prior thing. It was only in the 1900s that we subtly altered our perspective and started using the plural term priorities, mistakenly believing we could have multiple first things at the exact same time. But the essentialist does something entirely different. They craft an essential intent, a goal so fiercely specific, so aggressively measurable, that it instantly eliminates the need to make 1,000 other trivial decisions down the road. Imagine a modern startup team that has a vague mission to improve the customer experience. Every single day, they waste hours arguing over button colors, email copy, and social media posts, spinning their wheels in absolute paralyzing confusion. Now imagine an essentialist team with a singular, razor-sharp intent. We will reduce customer wait times to exactly under 5 minutes by the end of the year. Suddenly, the massive noise completely vanishes. When a random project is proposed, they simply ask, "Does this reduce wait times under 5 minutes?" If no, it is violently killed. One single towering decision completely annihilated 1,000 future arguments. When you lock in your absolute, undeniable intent, you become an unstoppable force moving in a straight line, while everyone else runs in chaotic circles. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Look at your biggest goal for this year and strip away all the vague, fluffy jargon. I want you to rewrite it into a single, aggressively clear sentence that is so incredibly specific, a total stranger could look at your life and instantly tell whether you achieved it or not. Make that one massive decision today and completely eliminate the agonizing burden of 1,000 tiny choices tomorrow. We are absolutely terrified of a simple 2-letter word. We will completely destroy our own schedules, sacrifice our weekends, and burn our mental health to the ground, all just to avoid a few seconds of social awkwardness. We suffer from a massive, crippling disease to please, and this brings us to the ultimate, terrifying test of an essentialist in Chapter 11, Dare, the power of a graceful no. A non-essentialist says yes to absolutely everything because they are desperately afraid of disappointing people. They trade away their massive long-term goals just to dodge a tiny moment of temporary friction. But in doing so, they completely lose the respect of everyone around them. And more tragically, they lose respect for themselves. But an essentialist understands a brutal, liberating psychological truth. People actually respect a firm, confident no far more than they respect a weak, resentful yes. The essentialist dares to look someone in the eye and decline a request, completely separating the decision from the relationship. They know they can say no firmly, yet gracefully. Imagine a modern marketing director who is asked by a colleague to review a massive, irrelevant report at 4 p.m. on a Friday. The non-essentialist instantly caves, resents their coworker the entire weekend, and delivers a terrible review. The essentialist simply pauses and says, "I am completely focused on my primary launch right now, so I have to pass on this." There is a brief, uncomfortable pause, but the massive, undeniable result is that the coworker instantly respects their time and their boundary. When you permanently strip away the fear of social friction, you become a completely unstoppable protector of your own life. life. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Sometime in the next week, someone is going to ask you to do something that adds absolutely zero value to your essential intent. I want you to look them right in the eye or type the email and gracefully but aggressively say, "No." Endure the 5 seconds of awkwardness and feel the massive, overwhelming wave of freedom that immediately follows. We have a massive, deeply ingrained psychological flaw that forces us to blindly throw away our precious future just to justify our past mistakes. We stay in completely toxic relationships, we hold on to dying investments, and we grind away at miserable projects simply because we have already invested so much time into them. This brings us to the profound liberation of Chapter 12, Uncommit. Win big by cutting your losses. A non-essentialist is completely trapped by the sunk cost fallacy. They falsely believe that giving up means they wasted their effort, so they double down, pouring endless hours and massive amounts of energy into a sinking ship. But the essentialist understands a terrifyingly powerful truth. Continuing to invest in a losing battle is the ultimate form of self-destruction. They possess the massive courage to admit they were entirely wrong, allowing them to instantly cut their losses and brutally sever the cord. Imagine a modern college student who has spent 3 grueling years studying a major they absolutely despise. The non-essentialist suffers through the final year and then spends the next 40 years rotting in a miserable career, entirely paralyzed by the fear of wasting those 3 years. The essentialist looks at the exact same situation and realizes the massive, undeniable reality. Those 3 years are already gone, but the next 40 years belong entirely to them. They pivot, they drop the major, and they aggressively uncommit to the wrong path so they can sprint toward their true purpose. Admitting a mistake is not a weakness. It is an unstoppable superpower that instantly frees you from the chains of your own ego. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Look closely at your current commitments and find just one project, subscription, or obligation that you are only holding on to because of the time or money you already put into it. And I want you to completely, unapologetically uncommit from it today. Cut the loss, drop the dead weight, and fiercely reclaim your future. We constantly believe that adding more value inherently requires doing more things. We think a better presentation needs more slides, a better product needs more features, and a better life needs more activities. But this is a fatal, absolute illusion that only leads to massive confusion and complete burnout. Which brings us to the quiet, terrifyingly powerful discipline of Chapter 13, Edit, the Invisible Art. A non-essentialist acts like a desperate hoarder. They cling to every single word, every single meeting, and every single bullet point, totally terrified that taking something away will somehow diminish their worth. But the essentialist acts like an elite master film editor. They understand that the absolute highest form of creation is not adding, but aggressively subtracting. They ruthlessly cut away the merely good so that the completely brilliant can finally breathe. Imagine a modern YouTube creator who has filmed 3 hours of decent footage. The non-essentialist gets completely emotionally attached to their own effort and uploads a massive, boring, unwatchable, hour-long video that totally kills their audience retention. The essentialist looks at that exact same footage and masterfully trims it. They cut out every single pause, every mediocre joke, and every rambling sentence, leaving only 8 minutes of absolute, unstoppable viral gold. Editing is not just a tool for writers. It is a relentless, ongoing psychological war against unnecessary fluff in your actual daily schedule. When you start ruthlessly editing your life, your words, and your commitments, you instantly strip away the heavy, suffocating noise and reveal a massive, undeniable clarity. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. The next time you write a professional email or a proposal that feels important, I want you to read it once, and then aggressively delete exactly 50% of the words before you hit send. Strip away the fluff, kill your darlings, and watch how your unburdened, essential message suddenly strikes with absolutely terrifying power. We view boundaries as harsh, restrictive walls. We are deeply terrified that if we draw a hard line in the sand, we will completely isolate ourselves and lose our value to the people around us. We willingly let our work bleed into our weekends, and we let other people's emergencies hijack our entire day because we falsely believe that being endlessly available makes us a hero. But this brings us to the ultimate, unshakable defense mechanism in Chapter 14, Limit, the freedom of setting boundaries. A non-essentialist operates with completely invisible, fluid borders. They allow anyone to walk right into their mental space, totally absorbing the chaos and problems of every single person around them until their own life collapses under the massive, suffocating weight. But the essentialist understands a terrifyingly beautiful paradox. Boundaries do not restrict you. They absolutely, undeniably liberate you. When you build a massive, impenetrable fence around your time and energy, you do not lock yourself in. You lock the absolute garbage out. Imagine a modern team leader whose employees constantly text them late at night asking them to solve tiny, trivial problems. The non-essentialist jumps in to fix it every single time, completely rewarding the team for being helpless. The essentialist simply sets a hard, ruthless boundary. They state that they will absolutely not answer any non-emergency messages after 6 p.m. At first, there is friction, but very quickly, the massive, undeniable result is that the team actually learns to think for themselves, and the leader reclaims their absolute peace. When you finally force other people to solve their own problems, you become a completely unstoppable master of your own focus. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Identify one specific person or situation that constantly drains your energy and crosses your invisible lines. And today, I want you to communicate one absolute non-negotiable boundary. Let them be mildly annoyed, endure the friction, and fiercely take back your absolute freedom. We live in an absolute delusion of perfect execution. We plan our entire days down to the literal minute, completely convinced that traffic will be non-existent, technology will work flawlessly, and no sudden emergencies will ever derail our schedule. We operate with absolutely zero margin for error, and when the inevitable chaos of reality strikes, our entire day violently collapses. Which brings us to the ultimate, stress-crushing strategy of Chapter 15, Buffer. The unfair advantage. A non-essentialist assumes the absolute best-case scenario for everything. They schedule back-to-back meetings with exactly 0 minutes in between, totally terrified that empty space means they are slacking off. But the essentialist understands a massive, undeniable truth. The future is completely unpredictable, and hoping for the best is not a strategy, it is a recipe for absolute disaster. They aggressively build a massive buffer around everything they do. They prepare for the absolute worst-case scenario so that when the storm hits, they are not just surviving, they are completely unbothered. Imagine a modern remote worker who has an absolutely critical client presentation at 2 p.m. The non-essentialist starts finalizing their slides at 1:45. Suddenly, their internet drops, absolute panic completely takes over, and they bomb the pitch in front of the entire executive board. The essentialist looks at that exact same pitch and builds an impenetrable buffer. They finish the slides a full 24 hours early, download an offline copy, and log in 15 minutes prior. When the inevitable tech glitch happens, they simply pivot without breaking a single drop of sweat. Their ruthless preparation makes them look like an absolute unstoppable genius. A buffer is not wasted time. It is the ultimate invisible armor that completely neutralizes the chaos of the world. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Look at your calendar for tomorrow and pick the most important meeting or task you have scheduled. I want you to aggressively carve out an extra 30 minutes of completely blank space right before it happens. Create the buffer and feel the massive, overwhelming wave of peace when reality inevitably tries to throw you off course. We constantly believe that the only way to get more done is to push harder. We think we need more motivation, more software, or more hours in the day. We treat our goals like a massive boulder, absolutely convinced that if we just shove it with enough raw, agonizing force, it will finally roll up the hill. But this is a massive, exhausting illusion. Adding more force is the absolute most inefficient way to solve a problem, which brings us to the profound, counterintuitive genius of Chapter 16, Subtract. bring forth more by removing obstacles. A non-essentialist reacts to a roadblock by piling on more effort. They hire more people, they drink more coffee, and they demand their team to just work faster, entirely blinding themselves to the actual friction. But the essentialist does something entirely different. They stop pushing, they step back, and ask a terrifyingly simple question. What is the exact primary obstacle that is holding everything else back? They do not look for ways to force progress. They aggressively, ruthlessly target the bottleneck and completely remove it. Imagine a modern e-commerce business struggling to increase sales. The non-essentialist founder throws $10,000 at massive ad campaigns, launches 3 new products, and completely exhausts their team, yet sales barely move. The essentialist founder looks at the exact same problem, strips away the emotion, and realizes a massive, undeniable truth. Takes exactly 8 seconds to load, causing everyone to abandon their carts. Instead of doing 100 exhausting new things, they do exactly one thing. They fix the load time, and sales instantly skyrocket with absolutely zero extra marketing effort. When you stop violently forcing your way forward and start removing the invisible chains holding you back, your progress becomes completely, effortlessly unstoppable. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Think about a massive project or goal that feels utterly stuck right now. Instead of asking what new habits or tools you can add to fix it, I want you to identify the single biggest bottleneck that is silently slowing you down. And I want you to aggressively focus absolutely all your energy on eliminating that one exact obstacle today. Stop pushing the boulder and just violently cut the chain. We are absolutely obsessed with the illusion of massive overnight success. We want the grand launch, the instant promotion, and the complete life transformation in a single weekend. We falsely believe that if our progress is not flashy and monumental, it simply does not count at all. But this desperate hunger for the big win is exactly what completely paralyzes you. Which brings us to the quiet, highly effective discipline of Chapter 17, Progress, the Power of Small Wins. A non-essentialist sets massive, entirely unrealistic goals. They try to rewrite their entire life in a day, become instantly overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the task, and completely quit before they even start. But the essentialist understands a profound, heavily researched psychological reality. Human motivation is not driven by grand visions. It is driven by the feeling of forward momentum. They do not aim for the massive breakthrough. They relentlessly hunt for the smallest, most microscopic win possible. Imagine a modern professional trying to write a completely industry-changing book. The non-essentialist blocks out an entire weekend, stares at a blank screen for 10 agonizing hours, writes absolutely nothing, and totally abandons the dream in deep frustration. The essentialist looks at the exact same goal and sets a terrifyingly small target. They commit to writing just one single, terrible paragraph every morning while drinking their coffee. It seems completely insignificant, but that tiny daily win creates a massive, unstoppable psychological snowball. Before they know it, the momentum completely takes over, and the book practically writes itself. The absolute, undeniable truth is that massive success is just a boring accumulation of tiny, highly intentional steps. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Look at a massive, intimidating project you have been putting off. I want you to completely abandon the idea of finishing it this week. Instead, I want you to define the absolute smallest, easiest, most ridiculous step you can take right now that takes less than 5 minutes. Take that step, secure that tiny win, and let the massive, unstoppable momentum completely take over your mind. We constantly believe that routine is the absolute enemy of creativity. We think that living a highly structured life makes us rigid, boring, and totally robotic. We falsely rely on sudden bursts of motivation and raw willpower to force ourselves to do the hard things, completely blind to the fact that human willpower is a highly limited, easily depleted resource. When you rely on motivation, you will inevitably fail, which brings us to the ultimate, effortless execution strategy in Chapter 18, Flow, the Genius of Routine. A non-essentialist wakes up every single morning and violently wrestles with themselves over what to do. They exhaust their massive mental energy just trying to decide if they should go to the gym, when they should write, or how to tackle their hardest project. But the essentialist understands a terrifyingly powerful psychological truth. When you make the essential tasks completely automatic, you bypass the need for willpower entirely. They design an absolutely ironclad routine that makes doing the right thing the default path of least resistance. Imagine a modern remote worker desperately trying to learn a massive high-income skill like software engineering after a grueling 9-to-5 job. The non-essentialist tells themselves they will study when they feel motivated at 7 p.m., but by that time, their brain is absolute mush. They completely collapse on the couch, and their dream silently dies. The essentialist looks at the exact same goal and violently removes the decision-making process. They set their coffee to brew automatically at 5 a.m. They leave their laptop open on the kitchen table with the coding course already loaded, and they execute the work before their conscious brain even realizes what is happening. Routine is not a prison. It is a massive, undeniable engine that completely frees your mind for absolute, higher-level thinking. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Take the one essential habit you constantly fail to do because you lack the motivation, and I want you to build an absolutely frictionless, unbreakable physical routine around it tonight. Lay out the clothes, prep the environment, and completely destroy the need to make a decision tomorrow. Because when you make execution automatic, your massive success becomes entirely unstoppable. We live in a constant state of mental time travel. We spend half our day agonizing over the massive mistakes of our past, and the other half absolutely paralyzed by the anxiety of our future. We physically exist in the present moment, but our minds are completely, tragically absent. And this brings us to the absolute razor-sharp discipline of Chapter 19, Focus. What's important now? A non-essentialist operates under the catastrophic delusion of multitasking. They try to listen to a conference call, answer an intense email, and plan their weekend all at the exact same time, deeply believing they are highly productive. In reality, they are completely destroying their cognitive function and producing absolute garbage across the board. But the essentialist understands a brutal, undeniable biological truth. The human brain physically cannot focus on two things at once. It can only rapidly switch back and forth, burning massive amounts of energy and leaving you completely exhausted. To combat this, the essentialist uses a brilliantly simple framework known as WIN, which stands for What's Important Now. Imagine a modern executive sitting at the dinner table with their family. The non-essentialist is physically there, but their mind is completely consumed by a massive project launching next week, staring blankly at their phone and completely stealing the present moment from themselves and their children. The essentialist looks at the exact same situation, feels their mind start to drift, and asks that terrifyingly powerful question, what is important now? They realize the future project is completely irrelevant at the dinner table, so they aggressively lock their phone away, completely anchor themselves to the exact second they are living in, and give their absolute, undivided, unstoppable presence to the people right in front of them. Focus is not just a work strategy, it is the relentless defense of your actual life against the toxic invasion of the past and the future. Here is your concrete challenge for this chapter. Sometime today, you are going to find your mind spiraling into deep anxiety about something that has not even happened yet. The exact second you catch yourself completely zoning out, I want you to stop, take a massive breath, and ask yourself, what is important now? Violently rip your attention back to the physical present, aggressively execute the exact task directly in front of you, and feel the massive, overwhelming wave of peace that instantly, completely takes over your mind. We spend our entire lives desperately looking for the next great productivity hack. We download the new apps, we buy the expensive planners, and we completely fool ourselves into thinking that if we just find the perfect system, our chaotic lives will magically fix themselves. But this brings us to the ultimate profound realization in Chapter 20, B, the Essentialist Life. A non-essentialist treats essentialism like a cheap temporary tool. They apply it only when they are completely overwhelmed. They manage to say no a few times. They clear out their inbox, and then the exact second they feel a little bit of breathing room, they dive right back into the massive, suffocating ocean of toxic busyness. But the true essentialist understands a terrifyingly beautiful reality. Essentialism is not just something you do. It is completely and undeniably something you are. It is not a software update you temporarily install. It is a total, aggressive rewrite of your fundamental human operating system. Imagine a modern corporate leader who reads a self-help book and decides to try being focused for a week. They ruthlessly clear their schedule on Monday, but by Friday, their agonizing, deep-rooted need to please everyone else completely takes over, and their boundaries violently collapse. Now look at the true essentialist. They do not even have to force themselves to say no anymore because their core identity has fundamentally shifted. When a mediocre opportunity presents itself, their brain automatically rejects it with absolutely zero emotional friction. They live in a constant state of massive, unbreakable clarity, moving through a frantic, screaming world with the quiet, unstoppable peace of a monk. The transition from merely doing to fiercely being is the ultimate victory. And it brings us to your final concrete challenge for this chapter. I want you to stop looking at your calendar as a list of exhausting things you have to survive, and start looking at it as a direct physical manifestation of exactly who you are. Today, make one single decision, not because it is a smart time hack, but because it is exactly what a true essentialist would do. Embody the absolute identity. Let the discipline completely fuse with your soul, and watch the chaos vanish. And now, we reach the ultimate conclusion of our journey together. The massive, undeniable, table-pounding truth of this entire book is that your time on this earth is violently finite. Every single day, the world is going to aggressively try to steal your attention, your energy, and your absolute deepest potential. Society will constantly demand your precious time to build their dreams, completely ignoring yours. If you do not ruthlessly and intentionally design your own life, I promise you, someone else will definitively design it for you, and they will not have your best interests at heart. Essentialism is the master key to taking your power back. It is the raw, uncompromising courage to look at the trivial many and fiercely say, I do not care, so that you can look at the vital few and say, I am completely, entirely yours. You now possess the absolute blueprint. You know exactly how to choose, how to ruthlessly discern the noise, how to gracefully eliminate the garbage, and how to build massive, impenetrable systems for effortless execution. The choice is now entirely in your hands. Will you step back into the exhausting, soul-crushing illusion of trying to do it all? Or will you step forward into the fierce, disciplined, and undeniably beautiful pursuit of less? Choose better, and completely reclaim your unstoppable life. Even after you have completely transformed your own personal life, there is still one final, ultimate frontier, which brings us to the Appendix, Essentialist leadership. We are constantly surrounded by toxic, hyper-stressed managers who falsely believe that leadership means being involved in every single tiny decision. A non-essentialist leader treats their team like absolute children. They mandate pointless daily meetings, they demand massive status reports, and they completely bottleneck the entire company because they are absolutely terrified of losing control. But an essentialist leader understands a terrifyingly powerful truth. Your job is not to do the work. Your job is to fiercely and ruthlessly design an environment where the absolute best work can naturally happen. They do not manage people. They aggressively manage the system. Imagine a modern startup CEO who insists on approving every single social media post and email campaign. Their team is totally paralyzed, terrified to make a move, and the company's growth violently stagnates. Now look at the essentialist leader. They hire brilliant people, set one massive, undeniably clear intent, and then they completely step out of the way. They act as a master editor, aggressively removing bureaucratic roadblocks so their team can run at absolute, unstoppable speed. When you stop trying to control every micro detail, you unlock the terrifying, limitless potential of the people around you. Here is your concrete challenge for this final appendix. If you manage anyone, whether it is a massive team or just a single virtual assistant, I want you to identify one specific project where you are currently acting as a bottleneck. And today, I want you to completely delegate the final decision-making power to them. Step back, let them lead, and watch how giving up control actually creates massive, unstoppable momentum. You have now officially conquered every single page, philosophy, and secret of this masterpiece, and your total transformation is absolutely complete.